Hello to our freaky family. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kandi.
And this is Sips of Crime. Welcome back, everybody, to Sips of Crime, your favorite true crime podcast.
Hey guys, hope everybody had a good Mother's Day.
How was your Mother's Day? Did you guys do anything fun and exciting?
We ended up going out on the boat.
Oh, yes.
Yes, just for a few hours, but it was nice.
It was a beautiful day to do it,
yes,
too.
I was afraid it was going to turn out crappy because it was super cloudy and the sun would come out for a little bit and then it looked like it was going to rain and I'm like, well, let's just go ahead and go out there. Like, if we're going to do it, let's just go. And so we did, and it was nice.
Yeah, it was, like, the sun was coming out just enough to keep the temperatures, like, low, but still, like, a nice day. It was a really good day, so.
What did you end up doing?
We ended up, going out for pizza at a, local pizzeria, and then we did a little bit of shopping, and it was nice.
Nice.
Yes,
Can't
my
go wrong
daughter.
with shopping.
Yes, no, not at all. My daughter made all these really fun things at school, you know, then the teacher put it in like a big like Mother's Day folder. Aww. So I had like a bunch of stuff and she was so excited to give it to me and it was just adorable.
Funny though that you went shopping after you did a whole closet purge.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, Kandi and I have been quite busy over at my house. She's been over here a lot. My husband finally decided to address the mounding issue that is my shopping addiction. And so I finally was like, you know what, you're right. Let's go ahead and just do a deep clean. So Kandi came over for a couple of days and we both worked from home while we cleaned out my closet in between. And we just kind of hung out and got it done. And we ended up getting it done in about 2 days, I think. And so I actually just dropped off all of the bags and stuff. So,
oh, nice.
Yes, I try to donate stuff like that as much as I can. And I do go through it. Like, there are some things that are just too crappy to donate. Like, I wouldn't even give that kind of stuff away. But I do tend to donate to, like, the Salvation Army and stuff like that. I mean, Goodwill's great, but I just don't like the fact that they charge so much what I consider to be more than they should for, you know, secondhand clothes. Well, speaking of clothes, though, I have been over here living my best life in overalls.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you guys haven't gotten you a pair of good fitting overalls, please go out and do it. I feel cute as shit in those things. They're so adorable. I can wear them with my flip-flops. I can wear them with like a t-shirt or like a little bandeau style bralette. I can wear them with little tennis shoes. I mean, they're just so stinking cute. Go get you guys some overalls.
Actually Saturday, I got a, like a coral and like a lavender color, it's like a bralette. It almost looks like a sports bra kind of, but it's that little like ribbed stretchy material.
Yes, I love really that ribbed stretchy material. Give me one of those in every color.
Yes. Well, I grabbed an orange one. It's more of like a skinny strap one. And then the lavender one is more of a thick strap. And that was my plan, was those I was going to wear with my overalls.
With my overalls. I love it.
I told the girl at the boutique, which is the May and Grace boutique over in the other town. And she said...
No, I think you can shout them out. You can tell them where she is without telling them where we are. Okay. So go and check out May and Grace Boutique.
It is Kernersville, North Carolina.
Kernersville, North Carolina. Go check them out.
But when I tried it on, I said, I'm so wearing this with my overalls.
Yes!
And she was like, I was going to order some overalls, but I didn't know. She was like, if I order them, will you come model them so I can post them? I said, yeah.
Absolutely.
Why would I not?
Yes. Go get you guys some overalls. They've made my summer. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and kind of jump into our normal episode. It's been a while since we've had just a regular episode, so I'm kind of excited to just kind of get back to everything that we normally do for our episodes. So definitely go get you guys some overalls. I hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. We are going to open up some wine.
So this one is Silk and Spice. It's a red blend.
I don't know what this is a map of. It's a beautiful bottle.
I don't know. It's a map.
It makes me think of, like, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, it does, don't it? It does. I don't know.
I don't know what it's a map of. I thought maybe that might give us some insight as to...
Maybe they just wrote stuff on here and it's not like a legit...
China. There we go. China. Okay, so China's way up here in the corner.
There's India.
And India. Okay. So now Now that I'm a little bit more
so it is
geographically acclimated.
Right. It's the globe.
It's the globe.
It's a snippet of the globe. The metaphor of silk and spice applies to the flavors of this red blend. Smooth and juicy with a slight vanilla note, it possesses flavors that can only be found in the grapes of Portugal.
Ooh.
Portuguese explorers discovered the routes to the Far East in the 1500s. Prized for their enhancing flavors, nutmeg, cinnamon, and pepper changed world cuisine. While silk from China became prized for its luxurious touch and softness. So, silk and spice.
Silk and spice.
So, China and Portugal.
There we go. It's probably what the map is of.
If I had to guess.
Cheers.
It's a little drier than I expected.
Yeah, that is definitely more drier than some of the other red blends that we've done. It tastes very Merlot forward.
It is not one of my favorites. I mean, it's not terrible. It tastes okay.
It's just very mediocre. I mean, it's not great. It's not terrible. It's
I don't know if I'd buy it again.
Yeah, it's just kind of your standard, like, across the board red blend. Like I said, there's nothing bad to say about it, but there's nothing that's, like, really standing out to me either. It is 13.5% alcohol.
Whoop whoop.
So, and it doesn't tell me the wines that it's blended with. Like, it doesn't tell me if it's like Merlot, Cab Sauv.
I could Google it, but I'm not.
No, we don't care that much.
I'm gonna say 2.
We're gonna give it a 2. I agree. Yeah, and it has nothing to do. We try very hard to not base our ratings on whether or not we like a dry wine or like a sweet wine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we try to base our ratings on what's given to us, what we're being sold. And yeah, like I said, there's nothing really that stands out to me about it that makes it super special or makes
and
it...
I feel like even though it's a red blend, I feel like it's more of just a red.
I feel like it tastes just like a glass of Merlot.
I don't...
Like, that's, very standard across the board. But you need those regular standard across the board wines, Sometimes you just need something.
When I was looking at Total Wine, when I was picking some favorites and adding, to the case.
Do they have a wish list?
They do.
Oh, that's so... I will not shop with you if you don't have a wish list.
They do, and then you can have another list, and I already have that list. I have one that's to try and one that's tasted.
Oh, like an already had. Okay, yeah. Like a buy again situation.
Yeah, like if it was good, I kept it, but if it wasn't, I took it off. But I was looking through all the wines, and we have not done like a Cab Sauv or...
No, we have not done a standard, yeah.
But those are dry.
They are dry.
I know I'm not going to like those.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I haven't
We do try a lot of red blends on the podcast. So, and for any new listeners who might not know us, you might have just found us. Whenever we decided to start this podcast, the agreement was that I would do like all of the technical stuff. So I do like the podcast editing and I run the Facebook and do the, the posting and stuff like that. And then I also have all of the equipment, so we record at my house. And Kandi's job was going to obviously show up with her story. She had to do a story, and her own research. But her job was the wine. She is to purchase the wine. She is to bring the wine. She is to pick the wine. Every now and again we have faltered. Every now and again I'll be like, oh, I really want to do this one for the podcast. Yeah. Or we've been gifted wine that we have to try. So we love doing that. So, if you guys ever have any recommendations, like, for the wine, send us those over because Kandi does a bulk order for us, and then the wine just kind of hangs out at our house until recording date. So, if you guys ever have anything that you want us to try or that you want our opinions on, because we know how much you guys care about our opinions on the wine, go ahead and send over some suggestions and give her some help because Total Wine is a very broad store. So if you gave her something to actually look for, we might have, some fun results out of that.
But I will say that I will get a Cab Sauv and a Syrah and We might even have to save those for Patreon episodes so everybody can see my face.
Yeah, the wine faces. Kandi's wine faces are adorable. You guys are really missing out on those. We don't have to try a Shiraz. That's the driest of the dry. Like, even a Merlot is better than a Shiraz.
We haven't had a Merlot yet.
No, we haven't done a Merlot. And I'll tell you another really, really dry is a Noir.
Oh, yeah.
A Pinot Noir.
So
that and a Shiraz.
We might not see those.
Yeah,
we might not see those.
We don't have to try those.
But if you want to give us opinion on yours, because you like those kind, by all means.
Or if we've, if we've influenced you to purchase any of the wines and you guys had like a different opinion, or if you guys really, really loved it, we love to hear that too. So any feedback that you guys can give us, we definitely appreciate it. If you're rude, we won't be entertaining those types of comments or messages, but anything else, send it our way.
So what do you have for me today? Because I'm really excited to get back into
normal.
Well, I enjoy our episodes that we have guests and friends on, but just our banter is what I enjoy.
Yes, I'm glad to get back to it, back to the roots of it. And I have a kicker for you guys today. Oh my gosh. We are doing... So, okay, obviously we title all of our episodes, and normally it's the title of the victim, or it's the title of the, the psychopath or the crazy person, the murderer, whatever. So we normally will title it something like that. I was going to call this case, the story of Susan Powell. Unfortunately, after you get into this, you realize that that is absolutely not an appropriate title, because Susan Powell is our victim here.
Okay.
But the story is about the entire Powell family.
Oh.
So it gets heavy. It gets crazy. There are a ton of missteps that happened in this, and it's unsolved.
You did an unsolved case?
I did, yes. The only reason that I'm okay with this is because we pretty much know what happens. But according to legalities, it is unsolved.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I'm tipping that unsolved glass a little bit.
Good for you.
All right, you guys, so we'll go ahead and jump into this. I am going to play you a little clip to get us started, and then we will jump right in. So grab a glass.
Grab a friend.
And let's dive in.
This is me, July 29th, 2008, covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
So what you just heard was Susan herself, and that is a short clip of another video that I'll be playing for you guys a little later on in the episode. But I do want to go ahead and just give you guys a trigger warning. This has a lot to do with Child Protective Services, child abuse, and some stalking as well. So if that's not your glass of wine, we will see you guys in our next episode. But just as a general, trigger warning, we'll go ahead and get into our story. So Susan, who is the voice you just heard, was born Susan Cox on October 16th of 1981 to Charles and Judy Cox in Alamogordo, New Mexico. She was their third daughter, and the family settled in Washington State when she was a child. She studied cosmetology, and her best friend had dreams of opening a salon.
Oh, cute.
Do you want to know what it was going to be called?
Yeah.
Beauty and Your Beast.
Oh, that's cute.
Here's why they named it that. Their business model was on point, girl. They wanted to open up a salon where you could come and get your hair and nails done, but also bring your pet to get groomed. Right? It's adorable.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so it was going to be like a hair and dog grooming salon.
I hate the smell of a wet dog.
Well, hopefully their business model was that they would be separated,
yeah.
Maybe bring the dog back for some pampering after they were no longer wet. I don't know.
Maybe they could both get their nails painted.
Exactly. Like, how cute would it be for you to take your dog into the salon, let them do their thing, you get your hair done, and then you both come back and sit to have your nails done. Come on.
All right, Legally Blonde.
Oh my gosh. She and her family were very active in their church. They were devout members of the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints. By all accounts, it looks like she was a good Christian girl with good family ties and values, just trying to settle into a happy and healthy life. This is our Susan.
Well, she's pretty.
Yes. Huge smile. I mean, just a light up your room kind of smile. Really, really sweet looking. Innocent also is something as you're going to see a lot.
She looks very friendly.
Yes, yeah, just like easygoing. Like I would totally walk up and talk to her. The next person we're going to talk about is Josh Powell. Now, Josh's upbringing was quite different than Susan's. Josh was born on January 20th of 1976 to Stephen and Terry Powell. He had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, so a bit of a bigger family. The Powells were also devout members of the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Josh held his religion to a very high importance. Unfortunately, his parents went through a pretty nasty divorce in 1992 after a prolonged dysfunctional marriage. And let's just say we are getting the crazy started early in this episode because this divorce was anything but normal. Steve Powell, who is going to become a huge part of our story, was under some sort of impression that he should be allowed to take other wives. Yeah, he even had his eyes already set on someone who was actually already married.
Okay.
And had no interest in him at all. He would write songs about this woman and even stalked her. But this was kind of the last straw for Terry. She said absolutely not, and also decided to file for a divorce. She accused Steve of violent abuse to all members of the family, showing pornography to his sons, and was even kicked out of the church, while Steve accused Terry of witchcraft. So that's the kind of people that we're dealing with very early on. Those are Josh's parents.
Right. So this is her husband's parents.
Correct.
Who were kicked out of the church.
Well, Steve was kicked out of the church, accused his wife of witchcraft during their divorce, and showed pornography to her sons, and thought he could take multiple wives. And apparently Terry thought that this was strange and didn't want any part of it. So decided to divorce him.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to blame her. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. This is documented in the divorce files. So, like, when you see the divorce files, you see that he's accusing this woman of witchcraft.
We are not in the 1800s.
Legal documentation, you guys. She wanted full custody of the children, but Steve ended up taking his 3 sons while Terry took their daughters, which is a weird arrangement to say the least. But this took a toll on Josh, who at the time was a teenager and quite troubled.
But yeah, because his dad showed him porn.
Yeah, he allegedly killed gerbils belonging to one of his sisters and threatened his mother with a freaking butcher's knife when she asked him to do the dishes, and attempted suicide at least on one occasion that we know of.
If my son comes to me with a knife because I asked him to do the dishes, I'm gonna whoop his ass.
Yes. We're gonna give him some of that southern hospitality.
Right, like,
let me be of assistance to you, son, because you seem to have lost your mind.
Because I'm about to. Woo.
So, that's who we're dealing with. This is Josh.
Okay, I mean, he looks like a normal day-to-day guy.
He does. They all do. Josh would go on to attend the University of Washington in Seattle in November of 2000, and Susan and Josh's paths crossed at church on an evening where there was a dinner party. In April of 2001, they were married. The Cox family wasn't exactly Josh's biggest fan, and some of Susan's friends even said that Susan kind of felt sorry for Josh and his upbringing, so not exactly a whirlwind head over heels, hit it out of the park kind of romance here, but everyone said that Josh seemed harmless, and Susan, being so grounded in the church, truly thought that she could help Josh become stronger in his faith. The first couple of years of marriage went pretty normally. Josh received his degree in business and worked for several companies, struggling to really hold down one job over the years, while Susan got her cosmetology license and took a job as a broker at Wells Fargo. To help with living expenses, the couple moved in briefly with Steve, who was Josh's dad. Mm-hmm. This is when things start to get really weird. At this time,
does the dad try to...
Steve becomes infatuated with Susan.
I knew it. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. And I don't mean like a crush or like a generational gap, you know, in inappropriateness, like where, you know how like older guys will like comment on a young woman and they don't really mean to be, not saying that that's an excuse for anybody,
they're
okay,
not
ladies?
About it.
Yeah, they're just old and cute. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, it happens. But this crosses all of those borders. It was a true obsession. So this is Steve.
Okay.
This is Josh and Susan. This is Mike, one of Steve's brothers.
Okay.
And one of their sons. It doesn't specify which son that is.
Okay.
Her friends stated that Susan had caught him watching her change clothes. He would sneak into the bathroom while she was showering. And he even groped her a few times. When she brought this creepy, disgusting behavior up to her husband, Josh totally blew it off and even blamed Susan, saying that she needed to be less seductive around him. Yeah. So you guys, I'm going to play some of... this episode is going to contain a lot of video and audio, so y'all just bear with me. I've organized it the best way that I can, but there's going to be a lot of playing videos and things like that. So here's some of the first bit.
I just had what is probably the most erotic experience I've had in my entire life. Here's my stash of pictures that I feel very fortunate to have. There she is, and I don't know when. This is another high school shot, probably.
And that was the dad.
Yeah, so who you're hearing talking is Steve Powell, and he's filming himself doing this. Just going through pictures that he has, things like that.
That's what she must have been wearing a couple of mornings ago when I was taping her, doing her makeup. Every time she takes a shower, I'm anxious to get into her laundry. Besides that she'll come down here and join me, but so far that's a daydream that hasn't come true.
Yeah, so ultimately, we're going to post all of this on Instagram, but ultimately this is Steve Powell recording himself talking about Susan. He is taking her laundry, as you heard in the video, and he's filming himself, you know, messing with the laundry. None of the videos contain any, like, nudity or anything like that, but they're just, like, really weird and creepy videos, and you can tell...
His voice is creepy.
Yeah, you can tell that, like, all of this is happening without her knowledge. So that's kind of where we are right now. So, this creates some tension. So she brings this up to Josh, her husband, and, you know, tells him that this is creeping her out. And, of course, like I said, he blames her for being too seductive, being, you know, too lovey-dovey, touchy-feely around his father, and that it's her fault. And this creates some tension between the couple, but there must have been something that was enough, because during this time they do decide to move, and they do decide that they think it's, you know, the best thing to go ahead and get out of the house. Susan's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So they, this creates tension between the couple, and with Josh still not holding down a steady job, they decide to relocate to West Valley, Utah, which is fairly close to Salt Lake City, for just kind of a fresh start. They went on to have two sons, Charles, born in 2005, and then Braden, who was born in 2007. And this is one of the fairly famous family photos.
I mean, they look like your normal family.
In this new city, Susan was looking forward to finding a church and settling down into family life with their sons. Her bubbly personality instantly gained her new friends, and they loved having Susan as a member of their group, but they sort of tolerated Josh. They described him as a cocky person who would speak over people and throw in useless facts during conversation, and he would just never let anyone get a word in edgewise when they were talking, and he just never really clicked with anybody in Susan's new, like, group of friends. Everyone in their lives also saw how controlling he was of Susan. Every movement Susan made was monitored by Josh. She could not use the family car without permission. She was made to keep a strict budget after grocery shopping. She was made to log the price of every item onto a spreadsheet that she spent at the grocery store.
Who the hell has time for that?
Yeah.
Because I'm really bad. I got a list.
Personally,
and do you know how much I venture off that list?
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that's called a fucking receipt. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure that is a document that logs everything you purchased and the individual price. And then I think it even totals it up for you at the end. I don't know if I'm missing something here, but...
Oh, God.
Is that not why people keep them?
I mean, I'll look at my receipt, but I don't keep them.
But
if you're going to make her put it in a spreadsheet, yes, I would use the receipt because a receipt did not cross my mind. I was just simply saying that when I have a list, I venture off my list because I walk by snacks and they look yummy and whatever. But
you know what's funny about that? The stuff you venture off into
of your sarcasm is killing me at the moment.
I mean, what's funny though is if you do venture off from your regular list, guess where it is? It's on the receipt. Right, so the receipts apparently weren't enough for Josh. He made her log everything into a spreadsheet. And then he even made her knit her own socks. Which I swear is more expensive than just buying them. I mean, what are they?
That's
$3 a pack?
sock.
Yeah. Yeah, made her knit her own socks. And I don't know, like I said, if anybody knits...
That's a thick-ass sock.
It's going to be way more expensive to knit your own sock. It's not about being frugal or it's not about money. This is about control. And to top it all off, when Susan went into labor with their first son, Charles, she called Josh to let him know that it was time and that he then told her that she would need to find a ride to the hospital because he was busy.
Oh, I would beat his ass.
Her parents took her to the hospital and Josh shows up 2 hours after the birth. You want to know what he was doing?
He's pissing me off.
Well, yeah. Do you want to know what he did? What he was doing? Why he couldn't drive
I hope he was calculating his spreadsheet.
He was backing up his computer. Which is something that you normally, you hit the button and then you just walk away. Yeah. Couldn't drive his wife, who was in active labor, to the hospital because he was backing up her computer.
Bye, buddy.
Yeah. So, that's Josh. This control went even further with Josh monitoring what Susan and the two boys ate. He told Susan that the boys already got one meal at daycare, so why did they need to feed them? They are just going to poop it out. Which just goes to show how stupid this person is, because first and foremost, this is how delusional he is.
That is terrible.
No one in their right mind, even without a working knowledge of how the human body functions, would think that one meal a day is enough for two growing boys. So Susan would call her friends to, quote, borrow hot dogs to feed her children because there was no food in the house. I'm just saying. So you can just see, I mean, this is a sweet woman who's active in church, who's trying to keep her...
She's being a mother. She's making sure her kids are fed.
Exactly. So like I said, if you have a friend of yours who you can tell is struggling but isn't being forthright and outcoming, and she's coming to you with things like this, call somebody. Those kids did nothing wrong and they didn't ask to be brought into this world, and they deserve more than just a couple of hot dogs. Anyway, rant over. Nevertheless, this was the life that they led. I also wonder, like, if any of the friends, like, ever attempted to actually do anything about it. Like, it doesn't really specify. Like, it says several times that friends and family members saw how controlling he was, but they never spoke up. Which I guess is where I was going with that. Like,
but
I know you don't know that person's situation, but call anyway.
Maybe.
I'd rather you be wrong. I'd rather you be embarrassed for calling somebody and trying to look out for your friend and those kids and be wrong than to just not say anything, because nobody here said anything.
Agreed. They should have said something. And maybe she did talk to them about it and told them not to say anything, or that she was afraid if they said anything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we don't know. She could have said something.
Like I said, just if you say something. I would rather you say something and be wrong and be embarrassed then not saying anything and something tragic like this happened. Nevertheless, this is the life they lead. And things never got any better between the two. They tried counseling, but Josh didn't take it seriously and ended up stopped going altogether. She eventually made this really eerie home video. There are some conflicting accounts as to why this video was made, but some say it was for insurance to catalog items covered under homeowners. Some say it was at the advice of counsel. So maybe she was, talking to a divorce attorney. We don't actually know why this video was made, but she's walking around her house outlining everything they own. Most of the expensive items belong to Josh, and she says that in the video. There's TVs, computers. You'll hear her say things like, "This is Josh's TV." In this video, every now and again, she'll come across a hole in the wall or something that was broken, and she's just like shrugging it off, like, "Josh broke this," or "Josh punched this." Like, it's just totally normal, like regular husband behavior. Again, we'll post the video on our social media, but we're going to play some of it for you now. It is 12 minutes long, so I'm not going to be posting all of it.
Today is Tuesday, July 29th, 2008, and we are in the 6254 West Sarah Circle house. This is me. Hi. Sorry. And it is, can you see that? 11:44 a.m. And I am documenting all our assets just in case of any emergencies, fire, flood, damage, disputes. And we have 2 Samsung monitors. This is Josh's computer, and there's some type of backup device and speakers. And here's the kind of pimping out stuff he's done to his computer. He built it himself. I think there's like 5 hard drives, something about doing raids. There's those for all the computer geeks. And Josh locked this, but this is all of his files. See, locked. Those are his files. And he bought expensive stuff, like these are, I think this was like a couple of $1,000s of, like, it says graphic design templates by Stock Layouts or something like that. Alright, here's our unfinished basement. We bought 3,000 pounds of wheat, and these are buckets of wheat. See? And this one, oops. Chemical-free hard white wheat with mint green gum, and red wheat with mint gum. So there's a whole bunch of buckets of it. Here is a rigid saw. I don't know the differences. I think this is a chop saw. Oh, there we go. It says miter saw utility vehicle MSUV. Oh, that's the holding thing of it. And there is a shop vac. This is all stuff bought in a year or less through Home Depot on my credit. Josh bought a lot of stuff and then he had to bankrupt it. And then he bought a little bit more on my credit. There's a nice lamp. These are things to roll wood with. Oh,
so, yeah, that's, like I said, you can find the whole video. We'll post the whole video on Instagram and Facebook, but for the sake of this podcast. But yeah, it's just really strange. She's pointing out all of these really, like, just odd things. Like, if I were being told by an attorney, or if I were being told by an insurance company, to document my assets, I wouldn't go straight to saws.
No, I would walk in every room.
I would document jewelry. I would document,
And I wouldn't be talking about it. I would just be, scanning slowly of everything we have. You don't have to sit here and say the brand and all that stuff. We can easily pause and zoom.
Yeah.
But, I have estimated X amount in clothes. I have, we have food in the fridge. Here's our kitchen.
Yeah.
But you're going to these, expensive things.
And specific things, saws and shop vacs.
His stuff.
Exactly. Okay, so Susan eventually confronts Josh about no longer being happy in their marriage, and this, of course, did not go over well with Josh. He exploded, and she said he screamed over his dead body, would he let her leave with his boys, and that is kind of it. Things never really got any better, and she just lived in fear of what he might do if she took a misstep, and He continued to control everything, and that was just life for Susan now. The only thing that she had for herself was her faith. By this time, Josh had left the church, just like his father, Steve, and oddly enough, didn't have any issues with Susan continuing to attend church, and he even allowed her to bring the boys to church. And on December 6th, 2009, that's exactly what she did. She and her sons attended church that morning, and afterwards, because she wasn't allowed to use the car, walked home with a neighbor. A friend
He
had
allowed them to go to church.
Yes.
This kills me.
Yes. A friend had come over after church to hang out for a while. Josh made pancakes for dinner, and shortly after, Susan decided to take a nap around 5 p.m. Now, there's been a little bit of speculation around these pancakes. People are saying that it's strange that Susan got sleepy after eating pancakes. It's strange that she would go and take a nap on a Sunday at 5 o'clock before everybody else had to be up in the next morning for school, and the kids had to go to daycare and school and work. It's just people find that strange.
It is a little strange, but I can say after like a full day of like running around, I've got the kid, my child, or if I've had multiple children, and then I fill up on some carbs, I want to take a nap. If I filled up on pancakes, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, could be very normal, could be suspicious. We don't really know. But after she decides that she's going to go and lay down, her friend leaves. And at this time, Josh says that he's actually going to take the boys out to go sledding. It's December in Utah, so plenty of snow-covered hills. And unfortunately, that is the last time that anyone has claimed to see Susan.
Since she went to sleep after the pancakes?
Yep.
Oh my God.
So the morning of December 7th, the woman who owns the daycare that Charles and Braden attended noticed that they were late, and she then realizes that they don't show up at all. She said that when Josh was dropping off the boys, they would show up at all hours of the morning, but when Susan dropped them off, it was like clockwork. But for them to just not show up at all and to not have called struck this woman as strange. So she starts calling Josh and Susan's jobs to check in. Both employers confirmed that neither parent had shown up to work that day and had not called in either. So they didn't know where they were. And the daycare owner gets back to her paperwork and starts calling the emergency contacts listed, which is, the normal thing to do. The emergency contact that was listed was actually Josh's sister, Jennifer. And she doesn't know where they are and hasn't heard from either one of them either. So the women decide that they're going to call the police. They show up at the house, and the police are given permission to break in because there had been an oddly high number of carbon monoxide-related deaths in the area recently, and the officers were worried that the family might have passed away in their sleep due to a leak or something like that. So they break in to investigate. The police enter the home, but don't really find anything out of place. It looks like the family might have literally just been there and just left. Everything's normal, and there was one thing that kind of stuck out to them as weird. They had a couple of box fans, like the old square,
Like they go in your window?
Yeah, the old box fans. Not a window unit, but the
that
old
sit on the floor.
Yeah. They were all sitting up in kind of weird angles and pointing towards the living room, and there was kind of this wet spot on the carpet. This isn't classified as super strange, though, to the police because it's winter in Utah, and apparently people are bringing in, wet snow gear and boots and stuff like that. And so, it's fairly, apparently, in Utah, in this area, it's fairly common for people to use box fans to, clean and, air out the area so that it doesn't get, mildew and stuff from the snow.
It's still kind of weird.
I think it's kind of weird. These people acted like it was no big deal. I'm just here to tell a story. Don't shoot the messenger. So Jennifer points out the fact, though, that her purse and wallet and her keys were still there. So Susan's wallet, keys, and purse are still all in the house. And Jennifer marks this as being, just really, really strange. Because obviously she would need those things if she was leaving the house.
Right.
immediately thinks, Josh did not clean these carpets. Josh did not have, wet boots and stuff like that. He did something to her, and she's instantly scared, but can't.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any proof of anything, other than the fact they don't even know where Josh is right now. So you can imagine in this state, everybody's freaking out. They're calling their cell phones, trying to locate this family. Well, guess what? Then Josh just casually arrives home with the boys that day at 5 o'clock.
So you just left, everybody's looking for you, you didn't answer your phone, you didn't, nothing. And...
Yep. The whole neighborhood had been looking for them. And someone tells Josh what was going on and tells him that he needs to go to the police station and let them know that he's okay. So he does. And this is the story he tells police when he gets there. Everybody just take a deep breath with me for just a quick second. Take a drink. Because let's just do it together, because this absolute absurd lie is going to rock y'all's world. So, Josh tells the police that after he took the boys sledding, he let Susan continue to sleep. So they watched a movie. One of the Santa Claus movies, he doesn't remember which one it was. Then around midnight, he decides to take the boys camping because they wanted s'mores.
At midnight, go in your backyard and make some s'mores at midnight.
In December, in Utah. In the middle of a blizzard.
Camping. What the fudge? You did not, you lying piece of doo-doo.
So, in December, in Utah, in the middle of a blizzard, and
the kids wanted s'mores. Baloney.
The kids are 2 and 4 at this time.
I'm going to tell you right now, they did not, that 2-year-old did not ask for no s'mores. Not with a blizzard outside. At midnight. Why was your kids not asleep at midnight?
Yep. Yeah, so this is the story that he tells everybody. I hope that deep breath and that glass of, that sip of wine helped, because... So he says he leaves Susan asleep in the house, packs up the kids, and goes to Simpson's Spring Campground, which is about 2 hours away from where they live.
How did you get there in a freaking blizzard?
The police are listening to this story and can only imagine what's going through their heads, right? Okay, so let's just say I believe this steaming pile of bullshit. Why didn't you call into work? This sack of swine shit says, oh, today's Monday? I thought it was Saturday. I didn't know I had to work today.
You're a liar. You are lying.
Yeah. So now we know how, why he had such a hard time keeping a job, because can't even read a freaking calendar. Needless to say, the police aren't buying any of this ludicrousy, and while they are interviewing Josh, they actually sent a unit out to Simpson Springs Campground to, check it out.
Yeah.
And to see if any of this actually holds up. As you probably already predicted, they find nothing. Nada. No evidence that anyone had stepped foot on this campground in a while. So there is no fire ash, no melted snow.
How are you going to have a fire in a blizzard?
Exactly. I don't know if any of our freaky family members are tent campers, but you know what a campsite probably looks like after somebody left no more than 12 hours ago, right? I mean, you've got a disturbed area. It's just crazy. They hold this information close to the chest, though, and proceed to tell Josh that Susan has still not been found. He is not alarmed at all and tells them, quote, I'm sure she's fine, she's just at work. And the police are like, no, dumbass, we've already checked there, and she never came in today. He keeps his cool and says, well, don't worry about it. I'll check in with some friends and family. I'm sure she just took the day off for herself since she knew I had the boys camping.
So we're still going with this camping story.
Yes. Well, the police don't worry about it and file Susan as a missing person. He's like, they're not going to listen to this guy. They're doing what they know is right and what they feel is correct, and they file her as a missing person. There are vigils that are held and interviews with the family are conducted. The family is supporting Josh through this and passing out flyers and posting on social media. Josh gets an attorney right off the bat who advises him not to speak to the police any further, and I'm in no way saying that this is a claim of guilt. I mean, quite honestly, the first thing you should do when you're dealing with the police is ask for a lawyer. So it's the smartest thing to do. But even though he isn't talking to the police,
most people, if their wife was missing and all of that, that's not going to be their first thought, is to go get a lawyer.
Mm-mm. Like I said, we can't say that this is an admission of guilt. You should get a lawyer if you ever feel like you need one. Period, point blank. Whether you're guilty or innocent, you should get a lawyer. But it just seems a little early in this investigation to start getting one. Nobody's even accused him of anything yet. Like, it's just a little strange the way things play out.
Well, yeah, you basically just told on yourself.
So even though he isn't working with the police anymore, he did agree to give a DNA sample, so there's that. They don't have any evidence leading them back to him, and they are left with this banana story that he told about camping with his toddlers in a blizzard, and the case goes cold.
I can't even find my words. What? How?
It's just bizarre. It's just all very bizarre. There are no words. You can't find any words because there are no words. It's just ridiculous. The whole scenario of what's happening and how this is playing out. For the remainder of December, Josh actually goes and stays with his dad, Steve, for the holidays. But due to his family trauma, he gets laid off from work and moves in with his dad permanently. He and his brother Michael go back down to Utah in early January to pack up the house, and he and his boys officially move. But the police are still looking at him, and they end up getting a search warrant for the minivan he claims to have used on this camping trip. And they have search parties out looking for Susan all over the area, but all these efforts leave them empty-handed. They don't find anything during the searches for Susan, and nothing was in the van. So, just to give you like a quick recap, all right? So he tells this crazy story about how he went camping. While I was camping, my wife disappears. I have no idea what happened to her. I was camping with my 2- and 4-year-old in a blizzard in Utah at this campground in this van. Now I came home and you're telling me that she's missing. I don't know where she is. I got laid off from work and moved my entire family in with my dad. And now me and my brother have went back to pack up the house. Your wife is still missing, and you're packing up your house?
Exactly. Like,
what kind of...
It's weird.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you not actively helping look for her? Why are you not staying
distraught
in Utah, in your home? Why are you not supporting her friends and family through this? Why are you not staying close to this investigation? I feel like that should be like a super big red flag. A super big red flag to authorities that he's just going to up and move. He's not really helping look for her. He's not distraught in any means. He's not... It's crazy. The whole case is crazy. Okay, so they search the van. Nothing's in the van. 2 more months go by with no answers. So her friends decide to hold a press conference, and they finally decide to expose the truth and the true nature of Josh and Susan's relationship. They lay it all out to the public, how controlling he was, how he treated her, how she was needing to be subordinate, how he micromanaged everything she did, and finally Susan's vows to leave Josh if things didn't get any better in their marriage by their wedding anniversary on April 6th. This is when Susan's family's opinion of Josh started to shift. But they had to play nice because their 2 grandchildren were still in Josh's care.
Why was this not brought up 2 months before? Why did her, quote, friends, unquote? Because to me, if this was me and this was you as my friend and my other friends that are close to me, they're going to come straight forward the day of.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, no, something's up with this. Like, he's this way. This is what he's been doing. This is how her life's been. She was going to leave him. I really think you need to look into him. Why did they wait so long?
Yeah. And, there's always this, like, really funny situation between women, and it's like, oh, if, we sing that song all the time. Yeah, I mean, come on. If you ever kill your husband, hand on the Bible, I'll be lighting through my teeth. But I'm here to tell you that if you were to ever go missing, I am singing like a freaking canary. I am going to tell the police everything that they need to know about your personal life so that they can find you. Like, that's just who I am. We have those folders. We have the If I Go Missing folders.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You guys don't, oh my gosh, I'm going on a tangent.
No,
Do not fill that folder out. There's a link in the show notes. There's a link everywhere. Like, go and just fill it out.
And tell your
somebody
best friend
about it.
where it is.
Tell your mother. If you're comfortable telling your husband, tell your husband. Tell your best friend where it is. Give them a freaking copy. I don't care what you do. But me and Kandi both have our folders filled out. We know where they are. We know that they're there. I'm okay with my husband knowing it's there as well. It is stashed away with all of our, like, important documents, like our social security cards and stuff like that. But it just has a lot of information in there about things that maybe your husband doesn't even think about looking into, like, like your Instagram information or like your Snapchat stuff. Like, it just has passwords and logins for that kind of stuff, and it needs to be in the hands of somebody that you trust.
When it does, like, description, like your tattoos, your, like, any other normal description.
Your normal route to work.
Yes.
Like how you drive to work every day, your normal route home, stuff like that.
It's more personable than just, like, the cop saying, oh, it's Jane Doe that's brown hair, green eyes, and 2 foot tall. I mean, she's
appeared to be a loving mother, appeared to be, active in her work. Like, no, like, this folder gives you a breakdown of the people and the passwords and the routes that you take, what you drive. Just don't neglect that. Just fill it out and put it somewhere and tell your best friend where it is. So anyway, her friends finally decide to come forward. Yes, I do agree that they probably should have came forward a little earlier. But they decide to expose Josh and tell the world about who he really is. The family is really starting to turn against Josh. And at this point, they're all kind of having to play nice because he is still in custody of Charles and Braden. So he still has the 2 kids, and the grandparents don't want to lose contact with them. So they, are starting to kind of see him for who he really is, but they need to stay in contact with their grandchildren. So they don't want to rock the boat and potentially, get to a point to where they're unable to see these children. So a year goes by after this. Right?
A whole year. And on the anniversary of her disappearance, more secrets come out about Josh and his family. So Josh and Steven, I keep saying this is where things get crazy. This is where things get weird. But, like, things got weird a long time ago, you guys. But Josh and Steve do an interview together on national television. Okay? First and foremost, this is strange. Period. This is your husband, right? Who literally everybody in your life is suspecting you of doing something terrible. And then your father, who is her father-in-law, who was obsessed with her. They go and do this interview. Okay? They say that Susan was actually having a long-term affair with a local journalist, and that they probably ran off together to Brazil. Is the story that they come up with. There is, of course, zero evidence of this and no link to each other's lives. Josh would have never allowed this to continue, even given how controlling he was. If he knew that his wife was having an affair, he sounds like the kind of person who would gather everything and all of the evidence that he would need to, like, prove this. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't just seem like somebody who would just, like, sit on that.
No, because he's over here making her do a spreadsheet full of groceries. Like, come on now.
It's ridiculous. So I highly doubt that he would have just let an affair go by unnoticed and just come out with it years later after her disappearance. Josh and Steve also publish a website about Susan. Not to help find her, but to badmouth her.
See, okay, now.
It was all slander. It talked about the type of person that she was and the kind of mother that she was, etc. Just like absolute garbage, like painting her as a seductive and promiscuous person who regretted having children and hated living in Utah, blah, 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 lies, all lies. Then, as if this weren't enough, the 2 men published parts of her childhood and teenage journals to show how much of a sexual deviant she was.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like his father all day.
Which, of course, has nothing to do with her disappearance.
No.
Why they were trying to show her in this light is completely beyond me. I'm assuming it was some kind of failed attempt to make Josh look better after all this came out about him, you know? But I can't really say. Steve even speaks out saying that she tried to seduce him when they were living together. And he describes their relationship as, quote, father-in-law, daughter-in-law, flirting, maybe some sexual touching. Frankly, I liked it, unquote.
Bullcrap, because you were over here posting videos about how you wish she would come to your room or whatever after she got out of the shower. You were being the creeper that sniffed her dirt. I didn't say, well, you were probably sniffing her stuff.
He was absolutely sniffing the dirty laundry.
Like, you made videos of this and, like, had your whole bed in that video, like, turned down, like, welcoming her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, all this doesn't seem to be helping anybody, but the police end up getting a search warrant for Steve's house now. So,
good.
It's like, yes, that was really smart of you, gathering all this attention, which led the police right to your freaking doorstep. So during this search, they find a ridiculous number of hard drives and computers, all full of child pornography. The poor officers that had to go through all of that trash. While they were looking through all of this mess, though, they also find a disturbing number of photos and videos of Susan, all of which were taken without her knowledge. There was one creepy time when he was, like, filming something in the car, and he goes to, like, ask if Susan...
husband or the...
No, this is Steve.
Okay.
The father-in-law. Yeah. So he's, like, recording something, and he offers Susan a ride because Josh is going to be taking longer than she was really expecting, and so they get into the car, and he puts the camera, like, away, thinking that he stopped recording. Turns out he was not recording. And this is the result of...
You mean he was recording?
He was recording. He thought that he was not recording. He thought he turned the camera off, but he did not. He was recording, and this is the result of what was recorded.
Maybe I'm getting the wrong signals from you. Maybe I'm interpreting something that I shouldn't be interpreting. It just, for example, when we were sitting on the couch, it just felt like you were very... I mean, I was extremely aroused, and I think you were somewhat aroused, at least I thought.
I don't know where you're going with this.
And Susan, I'll tell you what
I'm married to your son, and I should just be the daughter-in-law.
I know.
Which puts me a step beneath your own children.
Okay.
And that's where I'm comfortable.
Okay.
I was kind of meaning to talk to you about this because I realized the last time I came over that my own father, and not to be mean to him about it because everyone treats everyone differently, but my own father doesn't kiss me. He, as of like 6 years ago maybe, just started getting in the habit of saying, I love you. And my mom also. My family is not that vocal and physical with showing their emotion. Mainly it's just you tease someone to show that you care about them.
Yeah.
Which I think is what is the first level that most people use. Your coworkers, you tease them because you like hanging out with them. And I was just thinking about the last time that my own father doesn't kiss me and you kissed me, and I didn't like that.
Okay. Are you upset at me for talking to you like that?
No, it's nice to answer your questions.
I appreciate it. I really do, because I've been wanting to. Are you gonna talk to Josh about it?
Is there anything I don't talk to Josh about?
Some of that might be a little hard to hear, but ultimately they're in the car driving home as he offered her a ride home since Josh was going to be taking longer and professes his love for her, pretty much. And I mean, she clearly says, I don't know where you're going with this. I'm your daughter-in-law. I'm married to your son. Like, that's where I'm comfortable at. And, you know, I've been meaning to talk to you about this. And the last time I came over, it was really weird. So, I mean, like, you can tell that, like, she's obviously not reciprocating any of these feelings.
Right.
She's obviously felt uncomfortable for a very long time.
And then he's like, are you going to talk?
And then, are you going to tell Josh about it?
Yes, I am. Why would I not?
So, again, all of this taken without her knowledge, they find, during this police investigation of their house, Kandi, they find 7 notebooks, like spiral notebooks, full of his thoughts about her. He had printed out photos and, like, pasted them into the notebook with little handwritten captions. There were video logs on top of video logs on top of video logs, all titled Susan in the Black Top. Susan, you know, where Josh gets in the frame. Susan at Christmas in a gown. Susan on her wedding day. Like, it's just creepy AF. Okay, so crazy notebooks. They find piles of things that he had kept of hers.
Of clothes?
Used tampons, nail clippings.
You're fucking freaking kidding.
Underwear, other items of clothing. It turns out that Steve had actually went through some of Susan's old boxes that were in their storage unit and had scanned in old photos and diary entries that were in this box that was, like, in the storage unit. Cataloged all of them onto his computer so that he would have them on hand.
You disgusting MFer.
Yeah. So this dumbass is arrested on the spot and slapped across the face with 14 different charges, including possession of child pornography and voyeurism. This is finally when DSS is called. And the children, who are now 4 and 6, are removed from Josh's care because he's living with his father at the time with the kids. And then all of this comes out, and the kids are living in that house where they found all of this stuff. Okay. At this time, the kids are placed with Susan's parents, Charlie and Judy. And Judy said in an interview that the boys just weren't their fun, carefree selves anymore, that they had started getting violent with each other, and just like a really big change in their attitude that Judy said was absolutely caused by the time spent with Josh and their grandfather, Steve. She also said that one time Charlie was drawing a picture, and it was of his family in their minivan. And he was telling Judy about, the picture. He says, this is Daddy, this is Brayden. Mommy's in the trunk.
The trunk? They knew she was in the trunk?
That's what the youngest one, who was 4 at the time, said about their picture. Josh?
Hold on.
I told you it's a crazy one.
The 4-year-old sit there and said, Mommy's in the trunk.
Yep, he drew a picture of everybody in the van, but Mommy wasn't in the van because Mommy was in the trunk.
You have to believe a 4-year-old. Come on, what? Why would the 4-year-old say that?
I know.
Why?
I know. I
have an almost 3-year-old. If he was to say that, it's because I'm there.
It's because that's where I'm at. I know.
Not because we're playing and it's a joke.
So Josh's sister Jennifer, who was the one who was there when they broke into the house on the first day when she was missing, Jennifer, she actually starts getting pretty suspicious pretty early on, and she went to the police and offered her assistance. So, she really wanted to help. She offered to wear a wire while having dinner with Josh and Steve one night in hopes that she could get them to confess. The police agreed and put this plan into action. They had a helicopter and unmarked cars outside. They were ready to take this guy down, right? She tried and tried to dance around the subject, and then finally she said that she ended up throwing him into a bathroom and, like, shutting the door behind her and just looked at him and was like, where's her body? Josh gives nothing. He stays steadfast. No confession is made. Even though the boys were removed from the home and Josh's care, he still had parental rights, but not custody. And to get that custody back, the court said he needed to undergo some intensive parenting and psychological evaluations. I don't think that's near enough, but here we are. During this time, they actually ended up finding simulated child pornography on Josh's computer as well, but it's not what you think. It's
child pornography is child pornography.
According to the law, it's animated pornography. Like drawings and like animation.
That's just weird anyway. That's still weird.
I completely agree.
Who the heck? Who in the hello is doing this? Who is drawing child pornography? Because you need to
go through
jail.
Intensive psychological
You
evaluation.
need to go to jail. You need to go to the mental institution. You need to get off of the computer.
Yeah. Well, whatever they wanted to classify it as, because they were not actual photos of a person, there was nothing illegal about them. However, even though they couldn't arrest him for this, it did prompt the court to add an additional psychosexual evaluation to his list. During all of this, Josh was still granted frequent supervised visits with Charles and Braden. For those who don't know, a supervised visitation is when a parent is only allowed to see their child under the supervision of another individual. Sometimes this is a family member, but more than often, it's a social worker who is in charge of the child's case with DSS. So, for those of you who don't know, after I turned 18, my parents, with me being an only child, my parents wanted to just give back to our community, and their hearts were set on fostering children and being that kind of safe haven, being that middle ground. Because just like in this case, there's always a situation where a child is removed from the home and they can't go home, but they can't just write off the parents as,
right.
So the parents have to go through months of evaluations. They have steps that they have to complete. All of these different things have to take place before the parent is allowed to get their child back. And there has to be a safe place for that child to go during that time frame. And so if there's a family member available, such as an aunt or an uncle, in this case, it was the grandparents, Susan's parents, who were able to take custody of the children. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the parental rights were also taken away. So those are two different things.
Well, and you have those parents that can't see their children for months, and they go through those things like you were just explaining, and they have to pass a drug test. Oh, they didn't pass a drug test, you don't get your kids.
Right.
So they're going to stay with who they're with, and then all of a sudden they're clean and they went to these programs, and now they can have their children back.
Yeah, and under most of the time, once the parent completes those assigned tasks, and they normally include getting a steady job, having income, they do have to secure some sort of a residence that does have a room for the child. Most of the time they don't. DSS does not allow a 1-bedroom apartment to suffice. So, like I said, every county, every state is different, but when it comes to DSS, these are kind of your normal protocols across the board. So a supervised visitation normally happens when a social worker will come to the house of whatever, wherever the child is staying, whether it's a foster parent or whether it's another parent. The social worker will then pick up the children and take them to the supervised visit. Normally, the supervised visit takes place in some sort of a neutral environment. We've had a lot of supervised visitations happen at McDonald's with a play place, where the parents will come and visit with their children. They'll get food, let them play, and stuff like that. Sometimes, though, it does happen at a home. If everything is going okay, they can be taken to the home with the supervised person, whether that's the family member or the social worker. In this particular case, in the Powell family situation, a social worker was assigned to the children. Her name was Elizabeth Griffin Hall, and she came to pick up the children. So on February 5th, 2012, a in-home supervised visit was scheduled with the boys and Josh. When the social worker arrived with the boys jumped out of the car, super excited to see their dad. The social worker was just a few steps behind them when they ran into the house, and the social worker arrives at the doorstep, and she said with a cold smirk, Josh shuts the door in her face. She's shocked and takes a couple of steps back to assess the situation and realizes that she got a whiff of gasoline when the door slammed. This poor woman is confused and can sadly hear the boys crying from inside of the house and knows this is bad, so she calls 911. I'm going to stop here for just a second. For anyone who may be in the job market, I would like to bestow upon you some advice. Free of charge. It would be beneficial to you and our community if you looked for a job that utilized your own personal strengths, right? For example, I'm talking about adult careers here, not entry-level positions for teenagers, of course. But for example, if you're really good at speaking and a social person, a great profession for you might be in customer service or in sales. If you like to tinker with things, maybe a mechanic is where you end up. Whatever works best for you. If you don't, like to have a manager on site, maybe working from home is good for you. My point is, stop taking jobs just to take them and proceed half-ass. Okay?
No, because it causes more work for everybody else.
That doesn't help our community, because then we end up with customer service representatives who don't have any desire to help customers, and people who work at body shops with no love of cars. So it just ends up being a sad individual who hates your job. Do you see where I'm going with this? If you are a 911 operator, you are the first person someone speaks to in what is most likely the most terrifying moment of their lives. You should be an empathetic person, someone who is good at de-escalation and a good listener. Right? Those are all attributes that you would want your 911 caller to have, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Please listen to me and do what you need to do.
This 911 operator that this poor woman gets is none of those things.
Oh my God.
And I'll play you that call now.
Is this going to make me mad?
Oh, it's going to piss everybody off.
Hey, I'm on a supervised visitation for a court-ordered visit, and something really weird has happened. The kids went into the house, and the parent, the biological parent, whose name is Josh Powell, will not let me in the door. What should I do?
What's the address?
It's 8119, and I think it's 89th. I don't know what the address is.
Okay. That's pretty important for me to know.
Sorry, I can't. Just a minute. Let me get in my car and see if I can find it. Nothing like this has ever happened before at these visitations, so I'm really shocked. And I could hear one of the kids crying, but he still wouldn't let me in. Okay, it is just a minute. I have it here. You can't find me by GPS?
No.
Okay, it is, I still can't find it. But I think I need help right away. He's on a very 8119 189th Street, Court East, Puyallup, 98375. And I'd like to pull out of the driveway because I smell gasoline and he won't let me in.
You want to pull out of the driveway because you smell gasoline, but he won't let you...
He won't let me in.
He won't let you out of the driveway?
He won't let me in the house.
Whose house is
The
it?
kid's in the house and he won't let me in. It's a supervised visit.
I understand. Whose house is it?
Josh Powell.
Okay, so you don't live there, right?
No, I don't. No, I'm contracted to the state to provide supervised visitation.
I see. Okay. And who is there to exercise their visitation?
I am. And the visit is with Josh Powell.
And who's
And he is
supervising?
the husband of I supervise.
So you supervise and you're doing the visit?
Yeah,
You
I
supervise
supervise
yourself?
I supervise myself. I'm the supervisor here.
Wait a minute. If it's a supervised visit, you can't supervise yourself. If you're the
I
visitor...
do supervise myself. I'm the supervisor for the supervised visit.
Okay, well, aren't you the one making the visit? Or is there another
I'm the
parent
one.
that you're supervising?
No, I'm the one that supervises. I pick up the kids as their grandparent.
Yes. And then who visits with the children?
Josh Powell.
Okay, so you're supposed to be there to supervise Josh Powell's visit with the children.
Yes, that's correct.
And how did...
And he's the husband of missing Susan Powell.
How did...
This is a high-profile case.
How did he gain access to the children before you got there?
I was one step in back of them.
Okay, so they went into the house and then he locked you out.
Yes, he shut the door right in my face.
All right, now it's clear. Your last name?
My name is Elizabeth Griffin Hall.
Griffin Hall is hyphenated?
Yes.
And what's your phone number, Elizabeth?
This cell phone number is 360-990-9955.
And what agency are you with?
Foster Care Resource Network. And the kids have been in there by now approximately 10 minutes. And he knows this is a supervised visit. 2. Braden is 5 and Charlie is 7.
And the dad's last name?
Powell, P-O-W-E-L, L.
2 L's? 2 L's at the end of Powell?
Yes.
His first name?
His first name is Josh.
Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, native?
He's white.
Date of birth?
I don't know. He's about 39.
How tall?
5'10", 150 pounds.
Hair color?
Brown.
Did you notice what he was wearing?
No, I didn't notice what he was wearing.
Is he alone then, or is anybody...
I don't know. I couldn't get in the house.
Are you in a vehicle now or on foot?
I'm in a vehicle. I'm in a Prius, a 2010 Prius,
What color
with
is
the
it?
doors locked. But he hasn't opened the door. I rang the doorbell and everything.
What color
I
is it?
begged him to let me in.
Elizabeth, please listen to my questions. What color is the Toyota Prius?
Gray, dark gray.
And the license number?
I don't know. I can look. ZMH.
Zebra Mary Henry?
Yes.
All right, we'll have somebody look for you there.
Okay, how long will it be?
I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergency, life-threatening situations first. The first available deputy
Well,
is responding.
this could be life-threatening. He went to court on Wednesday, and he didn't get his kids back. And this is really, I'm afraid for their lives.
Okay, has he threatened the lives of the children previously?
I have no idea.
All right, we'll have the
the hell?
Who gave you this job, my guy?
I hope you got fired after that. I hope to God you got fired after that, because you have pissed me off.
Why did you take this job if you were planning on bombarding the callers with stupid questions about her job that have nothing to do with the emergency that she's calling you about?
Who gives a crap what he...
Come on.
Her car.
Yeah.
Has he done this before? She has gave you the
ample amount of information.
Right, that you need. That he does not have custody of his children. He has shut her out. That she smells gas. And
she's afraid for their children's lives.
Right, this is an emergency. And you're asking, oh, what do you drive? Blah, 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 blah. And
also, who the hell do you think you are telling her that she can't supervise herself? I can obviously tell he doesn't understand what she's trying to explain to him, but again, that has nothing to do with the fact that she's telling you that there are 2 kids inside of a locked home that she's supposed to be inside of right now and smells gasoline and hears them crying. Say less.
Well, and don't tell me he could not pull that up on GPS. You could have saved half that phone call pulling that up on GPS. You could not sit here and tell me you do not have monitors in front of you that shows where that call is coming from. Yes, I understand you need to verify. But if she's like, look, this is a situation, I need someone right now, you can be like, okay, is this your location right here? And if you probably would have spouted off that address, she would have been like, yes, that's it.
Come find me. He obviously is not relaying the information that she's getting properly, but regardless of any of that, there is plenty of information to get the fucking police there. The operator will later describe his actions on this call as, quote, clumsy, unquote, and, quote, faltering, unquote. He says, when he listens back to this, he says, quote, I wish I would have recognized the urgency of the situation. Unquote.
What do you mean you didn't recognize it? She told you.
Let's take another deep breath, everybody. Let's grab another sip of wine. Because that's not where this story ends.
You're kidding me.
So as you heard, she finally hangs up and she's waiting for the police to arrive. After they are finished handling life-threatening calls, they're going to get to her. 2 minutes, Kandi, 2 minutes after this woman hangs up from that call, the house fucking explodes and bursts into flames.
Oh my God.
The social worker immediately calls back, and this time she gets someone who is at least, halfway competent. And I'll play that second call for you now. I wasn't able to get a clear recording of this, just from start to finish, like I was the first call. But this is the second call that she makes.
Look, the house and the kids. The kids and the husband and the father were in the house? Yeah, he slammed the door in my face. You think he might have done this intentionally? Yeah.
If you would have done your job and got someone there right away, there's a good chance this could have been avoided.
All right, so I'm just going to give you a breakdown of the timeline that we're at right now. So it is now, when she makes that second phone call, when she gets off that second call, it is 20 minutes that has went by.
And she
tells them on the phone on the first call when you heard that they've been in the house now for 10 minutes. Okay? You guys, that 10 minutes can be life or death right there. Period, point blank. It doesn't take...
I pray, I know this sounds awful, but I pray those babies were unconscious.
So after 20 minutes from when she dialed the first 911 call, the fire department finally arrives and puts out the flames. Something else I wanted to point out with this story is that the social worker's actions have come into question a lot during this case. It comes up many times. A lot of people don't think she handled it correctly, but truly, I don't blame her at all. After doing the research, after reading the story, after article on top of article, I cannot put any blame on this woman. I think she did everything that she could to think of to help and to fix the situation. You know, she just kept banging into roadblocks that were out of her control. I mean, would we have done things differently? I definitely would have. You know, I mean, this is just me, but I go a little crazy whenever people don't do what I want, and I probably would have thrown a rock or something through a window and climbed in, you know, ready to go hand-to-hand combat with this swamp rat of a human. The minute that I heard a child crying, but that's just me. Nobody can really say, like, what we would have done in that situation.
Right.
Not to mention, as a social worker, everything that she does is monitored by the state or the county that she works for. So, I mean, she probably has certain protocols that she has to adhere to as well. You know, my point being, I would have done things differently, but she didn't. And these are the actions that she took, and I'm not going to sit there and say that she did anything wrong, because I think that she was just doing what she thought was best, and she did absolutely attempt in a professional manner, in a calm manner. She attempted to tell this person what was going on and what her concerns were. And the 911 operator was just not hearing it. He just wasn't connecting these dots. And, you know, I mean, unfortunately, this is just kind of the situation and how things played out. But like I said, I can't blame her. If the 911 operator had done his job the first time, they could have prevented this, I think, as far as the time frame is concerned. I mean, they obviously weren't very far away.
Right.
You know? Unfortunately, first responders did, in fact, arrive too late. Josh, Braden, and Charlie all died in that house. Some further gruesome details that I'm just going to get through quickly. The autopsy did show that both boys had received blows from a hatchet.
Oh, my God.
In the head and neck. But the cause of death was smoke inhalation, which means that both boys were alive and very badly injured when the house did finally explode. This is the house after the flames were put out. I mean,
awful.
And you can just see the destruction and how hot that fire burned. We also later find out that Josh had sent an email to his custody attorney and some friends and family apologizing to everyone that he had hurt. And the email stated, "I love you and goodbye." Of course, this is just speculation that he probably was admitting to being involved with Susan's disappearance, but that was never proven. Unfortunately, this sort of is where our story ends. Susan's case stays open for another year, but police are confident that Josh did this. I mean, no one else would have hurt her, and they definitely don't believe that she just walked out of her life without her boys by choice. So they are considering it unofficially solved, really. Some pretty interesting twists in this case that didn't really fit into my storyline are that Michael, Josh's brother, he was the one that actually went and helped them move. Remember, a few days after she went missing, he took the minivan up to help them move back into Steve's house. He was actually looked into pretty heavily by the police. He had helped Josh move, and actually sold the car that was used in that move to salvage right after they made the trip to Utah, which is pretty strange. Timing, but of course nowhere close to damning evidence. He was also asked at some point during the investigation if he knew anything about Susan's disappearance, and if he would tell them, and he straight up said absolutely not. He wouldn't tell them even if he did know something. And exactly a year after Josh murdered himself and his two sons, Michael jumps off a 7-story parking garage to his death.
So he had to have had something to do with it. Like, you're living with that. Why else would you?
Steve, Josh's dad, did go to prison for the charges around the voyeurism and the child pornography. He was there not near long enough, of course, but eventually got out and died a year later from natural causes, which was a heart attack. So he never said a word about Susan's disappearance and, whether he or Josh was involved.
So technically, yes, it is unsolved because they haven't found her. But it's not. You know for a fact that family had something to do with it.
Y'all know I wasn't going to bring y'all a completely unsolved case. Come on. We know what happened.
What the fudge?
I know. But that is the story of the Powell family.
Holy shoo-shoo.
We are happy to be back into our regular recording hours. We have officially... Oh, you don't even know this yet. Yeah, we've officially named our pod lab. I want to welcome you to the Waves and Vine studio.
Cute!
Yes, waves as in like sound waves.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I deal with whenever I edit the podcast. I do everything by like the sound waves on our computer, and vines because of wine. So
yeah,
this is
super cute.
Waves and Vine studio. Welcome. This is the name of the place, and we're here to stay.
Heck yeah.
We appreciate each and every single one of you guys. All of you through you family members have been just a huge support system for us, and we love doing this for you guys. We've gotten a ton of new suggestions, some new listeners, so we've got some really, really exciting episodes coming out for you guys, and we're just so excited to continue to keep bringing this to you. And hopefully as we grow, as we get our Patreon all organized and ready to go, that will be something you guys are going to be excited about as well. We've got some more photos coming to you guys soon. We've got some stuff scheduled with our favorite photographer, Chelsea.
Yes.
And so she's going to be helping us keep everything updated and keeping us fresh looking for everybody. And we're just so excited to have you guys along for this ride, and we're super excited to just, like I said, be back to our normal scheduling and be back together, just you and me.
Yes.
So we hope you guys keep listening, and we will talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye. You can join our freaky family both on Instagram and Facebook and find all of the featured photos from this episode at Sips of Crime.
Check out our website, www.sipsofcrime.com. There you can get to know a little about us and stay up to date with our monthly newsletter. We love connecting with our listeners and enjoy sharing your personal true crime, paranormal, or just downright funny stories. So submit those through the form provided on the website.
You can also help us grow our freaky family by sharing the podcast with others. And of course, let's not forget rocking our merch.
Thanks for listening.
Stay alive.